தன்னானத்தானே தனதானத்தானே தன்னானத்தானே தித்திரிதானே.
This happened in the mid-70s in Kuttanad, with the first means of road transportation service getting materialized, and the road, a dream of villagers, becoming a reality. Kuttanad, the rice granary of Kerala, interlaced with enchanting backwaters and vast stretches of lush paddy fields, offers some of the unforgettable sights to the eyes and mind. Kuttanad is all about an agrarian community, striking a chord of harmony with its physical setting. Well known for its farming below sea level, the land of Kuttanad possesses a socio-cultural fabric of its own. For the agrarian community here, Kuttanad is the way of life, culture, emotion, and moreover, a passion. Legends on the origin of Kuttanad are many, interpreted in different ways by historians and linguists.
The origin of Kuttanad dates back to the days of epic Mahabharata. In the early Gupta period, around 4th century AD, the region was part of a dense forest, later destroyed by a forest fire. Thus came the place name Kuttanad, or the burnt place.
In course of time, the word Kuttanad evolved to Kuttanad. As per the story, the legendary forest of Khandava was burned up by Lord Krishna and Arjuna to cure the illness of Agni Deva, the Lord of Fire. In period of time, this area got covered by silt, carried by the rivers, burying all beneath.
The pieces of burnt wood found submerged in various places of Kuttanad can be attested to that mythological belief.
Another interpretation of the name has relation to Lord Buddha. During the period of Chiran Chengutavan, famed king of Chera dynasty, this region was a famous center of Buddhism, and the land of Buddha was called as Buddhanad, which in course of time transformed to Kuttanad. A partially destroyed black granite statue, similar to an idol of Lord Buddha, can be found at Karumadi, a small village near the western coast, and is metaphorically known as Karumadi Kuttan. Thus, the land of Kuttan became Kuttanad. Kuttanad is the deltaic formation of 4 major river systems originating from the Western Ghats and their union with the Vembanad Lake.
The soil found in Kuttanad exhibits all the properties of a deltaic formation, and the occurrence of hard rock or solid rock is very rare.
Many households are located on the embankment and on reclaimed plots in the middle of the paddy fields. The lifestyle of Kuttanad is always related to water and waterways. Life is accustomed to the geography, utilizes the natural resources wisely. Fish is a major edible item of Kuttanad people. Various types of traditional fishing methods are practiced here. This is known as Valavala fishing, using its needs plenty of skill and experience. There was a time when people could use these canal waters safely, but now it is contaminated with weedicides, pesticides, and residues of various chemicals used in the paddy fields. People here are forced to use these canal waters even now. They have no other way to meet their livelihoods, fishing and agriculture. But the people are forced to adjust according to the developments without knowing the hardships of urbanization.
When planning roads and new constructions in Kuttanad, Precautions should be made to confirm that they should not obstruct the capillary canal network within the paddy fields. Especially, the reclaimed bunds of paddy fields in Vembanad Lake are extremely fragile. Utmost care is needed to protect the ecosystem not getting irritated, and that makes the dream of the next generation fruitful.
These innocent people can do nothing themselves except praying to God for a better future. The only uninhabited island in the lake, Pathara Manal or Sand of Midlight, once a hideout for pirates, is a haven for migratory birds, and now within the tourist circuit from Kumarakom, the world-famous backwater destination and bird sanctuary. The social life of people here manifests a distinct communal and cultural harmony. Festivals in temples and churches, cultural and religious celebrations reflect the necessity of togetherness to live in an isolated land of water and lake, and always synchronized with the environment. Boat races at various places, including the world-famous Nehru Trophy boat race at Punamada Lake, Alapura, is one of its kind. The geographical area of Kuttanad is 874 km square, of which 290 km square are garden lands, raising 1 or 2 meter above main sea level. The remaining area is 0.6 to 2.2 meter below main sea level. The southwest monsoon cloud arrives here in the beginning of the month of June. And the average annual rainfall received is around 300 centimeter, of which about 83% are received during the monsoon months. Kuttanad is an amazing labyrinth of shimmering waterways composed of lakes, canals, rivers and rivulets. The backwaters have a unique ecosystem. Fresh water from the rivers meets the seawater from the Arabian Sea. Continuous fresh water flow from 4 rivers enriches the region. Meenachal River originates from Vagaman Hills in Western Ghats. Manimala originates from Mathuvara Hills near Pyramid. Achinkoil River rises from the south of Devarmali in Western Ghats. And Pamba, the third longest river in South India, originates at Pulachimali Hills in Pyramid, Western Ghats, and finally empties into the Vembanad Lake.
Connected to the Western Ghats through 5 river systems, this has been ideally suited for rice from the very early days. Farmers in these places have developed farming by forming padashekarams or polders from the deep bottoms of the Vembanad Lake, by forming earthen bunds and bailing out water using most traditional ways. And the farming was in tune with the climatic rhythm of the region and also merging with the topography of the places. Kuttanad also sustained high endemic biodiversity. For example, the Vechur cow. Vechur cow is the dwarfest cow available in the world. Similar is the case with the Chara and Chemballi ducks of Kuttanad, which is supposed to be the hardiest variety.
Coir making, which is still practiced in the traditional way, forms a major livelihood activity of many families. These coir products have high demand in native and foreign markets.
The most important species, called the giant freshwater prawn or scampi, Kuttanad is supposed to be the home ground of this species. The migration of this has been very seriously affected, as this species required salinity for their breeding.
Large deposits of shells of mussels are found in the Kuttanad region of Wetland Lake. Collecting and processing of mussels is another source of income for many families here. Wetland, due to its unique ecological peculiarities, is home to different mangrove vegetation and associated life forms. Continuing habitat destruction reduces this vegetation, which is supporting fishery resources as well as protecting the coastline.
The depletion of the mangroves had disastrous consequences of the very important endemic fish species like caribbean or pearl spot.
Kuttanad is a backwater paradise and an ideal destination for a backwater cruise globally. It is possible to drift along in a houseboat and enjoy the scenic view of the most beautiful wetland in Kerala. Houseboats have decorated air-conditioned bedrooms and modern kitchens. These houseboats are adapted versions of the olden-time locally made vessels named Kevuvalam and Ketuvalam, driven by wind and oars, which used to carry merchandise. Once, the well-maintained canal network was the lifeline of the region. The unscientific construction of roads leads to blockage of steady water flow in these canals and invites problems in the length and breadth of the area.
The nourishing flow of water is vital for any river deltas, and Kuttanad also is no exemption.
Now, almost all canals have been clogged with thick growth of water hyacinth, pushing the once vibrant water transport system in this paddy belt into oblivion.
The human interventions in Kuttanad in the name of rice-centric development had disastrous consequences. The indiscriminate use of pesticides and massive use of fertilizers, and also the sewage coming from the houseboats and the urban settlement, all had very serious and deleterious effect on the aquatic biota and also the hydrobiology of the Wetland system.
But now it is dangerous to get in contact with the water in the canals, since it is contaminated with pesticides and chemical residues washed out from the paddy fields. The lack of steady flow of water in the canals was creating problems for the agriculture and health sectors of Kuttanad.
What I have observed is that there is an effort by the powers that be to enhance paddy production without any sealing, without taking into consideration the consequences on the soil stratum first and the ecosystem at large. You can have a lot of grains produced in a short period of time, but at what expense?
The shocking trend in the increase in diseases throws light into public health related issues.
Because of the unhealthy construction in Kuttanad area, like roads and bridges, the water is not getting a chance for easy flow.
Unscientific construction of roads and uncontrolled conversion of paddy fields into raised lands are bane of this paddy belt. Acute water scarcity faced by Kuttanad recently is directly related to clogging of the canals and filling of paddy fields.
കുടിക്കാനുള്ള വെള്ളമാണ് ഈ കാണുന്നത്. 20 ലിറ്ററിന് 50 രൂപ കൊടുത്തായി കൊണ്ടുവരുന്നത്. ഇതുകൂടെ ഞങ്ങൾ ആലപ്പുഴ പോയി അങ്ങോട്ട് 1 മണിക്കൂർ യാത്ര ചെയ്യണം.
കിണർ പറ്റി പോവും. അത്രയും ഞങ്ങൾക്ക് ഇത് മാത്രമേ ഉള്ളൂ. പൈപ്പ് കിട്ടാൻ മാർഗ്ഗമില്ല. വേനൽപ്പാലിനാകുമ്പോൾ ഒരു വെള്ളവും ഇല്ല ഞങ്ങൾക്കിവിടെ.
So the first and foremost step to prevent these two important health hazards is to provide safe drinking water to all people in Kuttanad area.
The below sea level farming system of Kuttanad is now declared as globally important agricultural heritage spot.
സമുദ്രനിരപ്പിന് താഴെ നെൽകൃഷി ചെയ്യുന്ന ഇന്ത്യയിലെ ഏക പ്രദേശമാണ് കുട്ടനാട്. ഇവിടുത്തെ കൃഷി സമ്പ്രദായത്തിന് നേരിട്ടറിയാവുന്ന 150 വർഷത്തോളമുള്ള ചരിത്രമുണ്ട്. കേരളത്തിൻ്റെ നെല്ലറയായ കുട്ടനാട്ടിൽ ഒരു കൃഷിക്ക് ഉൽപ്പാദിപ്പിക്കപ്പെടുന്നത് 20,000 മെട്രിക് ടൺ നെല്ലാണ്. ഇവിടെ വരുന്ന സന്ദർശകർക്ക് എക്കാലവും മനസ്സിൽ സൂക്ഷിക്കുവാൻ കഴിയുന്ന ഒരുപാട് ഓർമ്മകൾ സമ്മാനിക്കാൻ തക്ക സൗന്ദര്യമുള്ള പ്രദേശമാണ് കുട്ടനാട്.
In Ramsar Convention 2002, the region was declared as wetland of international importance, especially as waterfowl habitat.
Due to the innumerable services it provides to humanity, it is often termed as the kidneys of the earth. Wetlands are important ecologically and socially. It's very important. Ecologically, it supports. It's termed as the reservoirs of biodiversity, where large number of fishes, water birds are dependent on wetlands for their habitat. Vembanad alone supports the livelihood of around 1.5 million people. The pollution which is happening in Vembanad is affecting the livelihood of these entire stakeholders.
Thotapalli spillway was constructed to control the flood in the region, to drain the flood water directly into the sea. Kuttanad is witnessing increasing ecological stress over the years, a consequence of intense human interventions, especially for agriculture and tourism. Flood is common during monsoon. No human intervention like the spillway offering any solution. Recurring floods and the damages thereof are part of the life of Kuttanad. Weeks together, the lowlands remain flooded, houses destroyed, thousands of hectares of standing crops washed off. Amidst floodwater, people drifts like floating objects enjoying rain and flood. As flood level recedes, life begins anew.
What's important to understand in Kuttanad is that the flushing of seawater is very important as far as the nutrient dynamics is concerned. So the flushing of the water has its own chemical action to play.
The government of Kerala, along with private and public participation, attempted many measures to save the land area and this unique farming system. Thaniramukkam Bund and Thotapalli spillway were the more notable contributions of that kind. The Thaniramukkam saltwater barrier was constructed in 1974 to prevent tidal action and intrusion of salt water into the Kuttanad lowland. The bund opened up a way to quicker and reliable road transportation across the lake, connecting two districts. It is the largest mud regulator in India. This barrier essentially divides the lake into two parts, one with brackish water perennially and the other half with fresh water fed by the rivers draining into the lake. The idea behind the construction was controlling the saltwater inflow for enabling the farmers to raise 2 crops per year, dreaming an explosion of economy. But all this effort is in vain. The blockage of saltwater inflow upsets the natural weed control and results in an extreme situation of entangling the toxic waste within the waters. This disturbs the natural purification of the region and imposes irreversible damage to the ecosystem. At present, the control of water flow is unregulated due to the lack of maintenance and proper guidance in the opening and closing of shutters of the barrage.
Now, this is very deleterious as far as the positive reaction of the soil is concerned and the water system. Now, these concrete slabs, as one can see, stretching over thousands of kilometers, will not allow the seawater to come in, flush and go back in a natural cycle. So that is going to be a terrible disaster as far as Kuttanad is concerned in the years to come.
The salinity in the water also helped to check the proliferation of water weeds. Today, the stagnant cesspools of the region, infested with thick weed growth, provide an ideal breeding ground for mosquitoes.
MS Swaminathan Foundation has given valuable and scientific suggestions to improve the operation of Thaniramukkam saltwater regulator, and the government of India and also the state government should very strictly follow these instructions or suggestions and ask the government department concerned to follow them.
1,840 crore project, the Kuttanadu package, based on the recommendations of Dr. MS Swaminathan Commission report, is being implemented in this region recently. It includes strengthening the mud walls of the fields by erecting concrete pillars and slabs, deepening the canals to ease the water flow, and many more. The They are legitimate complaints from the locals related to its execution and implementation.
കുട്ടനാട് പാക്കേജിൻ്റെ ഫണ്ടാണിത്. നിർമ്മാണത്തിൻ്റെ അനാസ്ഥ മൂലം ഞങ്ങൾക്ക് ദോഷമല്ലാതെ ഗുണമൊന്നും ഉണ്ടായിട്ടില്ല ഇതുവരെ.
Any infrastructural development project in the Kuttanad region must take into account the uniqueness of Kuttanad soil. For this, any person with not just a superficial knowledge but deep knowledge of soil dynamics vis-a-vis the environment must be involved in such an attempt. The structure of Kuttanad soil is again very unique in the sense that once it becomes hard, it is stronger than granite. But once when it is immersed in water, it keeps its stability. As far as texture is concerned, we must have a soil which has a high porosity, at the same time a high bulk density. Now, Kuttanad soil has both of these features. Like what's happening in India, you have projects on soil management, you have projects on water management. Hardly one finds a project which is soil and water management, because there is no water without soil. So given the fact that the Kuttanad soil is so very unique, just like the Indo-Gangetic plain soil, silty clay loam, which has unique properties of absorbing and keeping the plant nutrients and then attracting and keeping the water, that is the water molecule there. If we do not understand the basic dynamics, we are creating havoc for the generations to come.
Statement of experts and inland fishermen further establishes the impact of waste deposition in the lake.
ഹൗസ് ബോട്ടുകാരുടെ മാലിന്യം വീഴുന്ന കാരണം വേമ്പനാട്ട് കായലിൽ മീനുകളില്ല. വലക്കാർക്കൊക്കെ ജീവിക്കാൻ വലിയ ബുദ്ധിമുട്ടൊക്കെ ആയിരിക്കുകയാണ്. അതുപോലെ തന്നെ മണ്ണം വള്ളക്കാർ വലയുടെ പുറത്തോട്ട് ബോട്ട് ഓടിച്ച് കയറ്റി വല മുറിച്ചും കീറി എല്ലാം കളഞ്ഞ് വെച്ച് അവരവരുടെ പാട്ടിന് പോകും.
കായലാകെ നശിച്ച് മാലിന്യങ്ങൾ കാരണം മത്സ്യസമ്പത്ത് കുറവാണ്.
The fish production, which was 16,000 tons annually, has come down to less than 600 tons recently after the Green Revolution period, especially due to pollution and other human interventions.
If the situation continues like this, in future we all are afraid that the Kuttanad will become the capital of waterborne diseases in Kerala. Various studies in Kuttanad have shown that this carcinoma or cancer or malignancy is very common in particular areas like Kainagari and Chambakalam area. Apart from the treatment, we had to give proper health education to the people in Kuttanad, and also we had to take important and effective preventive measures, including provision of safe drinking water to all population of Kuttanad area.
Alarmingly, the population of the area has to depend on these polluted waters to meet their livelihood.
The agrochemicals are now blamed as one of the major cause for the pollution of the lake. The agricultural runoff, the chemical manures we apply to our paddy fields are bleached out to the lake, which causes the growth of a lot of weeds, and as the scientists say, it causes a eutrophication of the lake.
There is widespread resentment and protest against the lackadaisical attitude demonstrated by the government machinery, but all in vain. A root cause analysis of the nature and rates of environmental change over recent decades is essential for a proper understanding of the environmental degradation of the region.
What's the solution for this? Instead of the agrochemical companies directly distributing the agrochemicals, the government should take over the distribution of the agrochemical, and the farmers should be given correct advice about the usage of the pesticides and chemical fertilizers in their field, so that we can save not only our agriculture but the nearby water bodies and other systems.
Reclamation of wetland causing change in the land-to-water body ratio, bringing imbalance and irreparable damage to a matchless ecosystem. This creates conflict between the life forms of terrestrial and aquatic habitats. Now, the state government is eager to rejuvenate the canals and save the unique habitat of flora and fauna.
As a final word of caution, I would like to mention that the GIHAS accreditation that has been given to Kuttanad is a great victory for the people of Kerala. And one must strive to see that it is not tampered with in any way, because it has all its roots in the 1953 Ramsar Protocol of the United Nations. It has been obtained with great effort, and it is a gift to the people of Kerala, and one must be very, very careful in tampering in any manner that might bring discredit to this great recognition in the world.
Roads and bridges are extremely important for improving the quality of lifestyle and escalating development. Planning and designing of roads without considering the ecology of Kuttanad invites degradation and loss of welfare of community.
This delta system is very fragile, and manipulating this fimbriated land may cause a serious environmental resilience.
Kuttanad provides an opportunity for learning the turmoil of inappropriate development. If we do not still learn lessons from Kuttanad and provide remedies to prevent its recurrence, we may lose this unique ecosystem forever. Kuttanad is still sinking deep into a sea of troubles due to the inappropriate land use, pollution load, and a cry sounds everywhere. Will anyone lend a helping hand? We shall extend a straw of hope and not let this land, once the rice bowl of Kerala, sink further into deep waters, or else wait for another Vara Avtar to raise it from the abyss of negligence.